In a small college town, nestled between rolling hills and endless forests, life seemed idyllic for most students. But for Mark and Emily, it was a constant struggle to make ends meet. Both in their final year, they were drowning in student loans. Part-time jobs barely covering rent and food, let alone textbooks and other expenses. One chilly evening, as they sat huddled in their drafty apartment, Mark stared at the pile of bills on the table. "We can't keep going like this, Em. We'll be in debt forever." Emily, always the practical one, sighed. "I know, but what can we do? We've already cut back on everything." Mark's eyes darkened with a desperate resolve. "I've been thinking, there's a way we can get the money we need. But it's risky." Emily looked at him, puzzled. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath. "Robbing a bank." Her eyes widened in shock. "Mark, are you insane? That's a felony. We could go to prison." "I know, but listen," he insisted, lowering his voice as if the walls had ears. "I've been watching the small bank on Elm Street. It's practically deserted most of the time. We could do it quickly, in and out. No one gets hurt." After days of heated discussions and planning, they decided to go through with it. They spent weeks meticulously planning every detail. Mark studied the bank's layout, the guard schedules, and the security cameras. Inside, the bank was eerily quiet, just as they had hoped. Mark approached the teller, brandishing the fake gun. "This is a robbery. No one gets hurt if you cooperate." The teller, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, trembled but complied, filling a bag with cash. Emily kept watch at the entrance, her fingers flying over her phone, ready to jam the alarm if necessary. Emily screamed, rushing to help, but in the chaos, a silent alarm was triggered. The wail of sirens filled the air, growing louder by the second. Realizing they had no time, Mark and Emily bolted for the exit, abandoning the bag of money. They sprinted down alleyways and through backyards, the sound of approaching police cars spurring them on. They made it back to their apartment, breathless and terrified. They quickly discarded their disguises and tried to act normal, but the pounding on the door came all too soon. "Police, open up." In the end, they pled guilty and were sentenced to several years in prison. The reality of their actions hit them hard, the weight of their choices settling in like a heavy fog. Separated by prison walls, they could only reflect on the desperation that had driven them to such extremes. Years later, when they were finally released, Mark and Emily emerged as different people. The experience had scarred them, but it had also given them a new perspective. They returned to their small town, determined to rebuild their lives, one step at a time. Their dreams were no longer filled with fear and desperation, but with the quiet determination to never let the darkness of their past define their future.